Hi, 5th and 6th graders. So today we are starting our very last continent of geography class, which is so crazy. I can't believe we made it through all 7 continents. So this one is gonna go pretty fast. It's kind of a weird continent because nobody lives on Antarctica. And there's actually not too much that happens there, but we'll talk about some of the history of it because it's sort of interesting how it got discovered. Okay, so I think Antarctica is kind of cool. Before we start, I'm going to use my beach ball globe to remind you where it's at. Okay, so remember, Antarctica's at the very bottom of the world. Actually, on the globe, this isn't really a good example, I guess. So this part in the middle here should be orange too. So this whole part right here, this is Antarctica. Okay, so if you could look up at the bottom of the world somehow, that's what you would see. Okay, so that map on your screen here, that is what Antarctica looks like as well. So it's maybe a little bigger than you thought it was. And so make sure you're filling out your notes as I go through this presentation. Okay, so Antarctica. There it is more up close. Okay, so remember the South Pole is actually on Antarctica. Okay, so this is kind of some history. So for a lot of history, people thought that there was probably a continent at the bottom of the world, but no one had ever seen it. No one had ever been there. Nobody lived there. Okay, so for example, the ancient Greeks thought, well, there's so many big continents at the top part of the world, obviously there must be something at the bottom of the world, but they didn't know. And ships were not advanced enough, or they just didn't have as good enough ships as they do nowadays that they could sail that far. So nobody could really go look what was at the bottom of the world. So nobody knew about Antarctica for a really long time. So you could say Antarctica is really the only continent that was discovered. And what I mean by that is, nobody lived there first. People had to find it. So the Greek people had that theory. So the third bullet point says that the English sailor James Cook was sent to go look for Antarctica in the 1700s. He made 3 long trips from England to Antarctica. So if you can think about how long it would take to sail that way, that would be, months and months. But there were icebergs all around Antarctica in the water, so that held him back from getting too close because you can't sail a ship through icebergs. Remember the Titanic, you can't do that. Okay, so after he made those journeys, he kind of gave up after a while, but then some hunters who hunted for seals and whales actually began to travel towards Antarctica because seals and whales are around Antarctica. So they were probably actually some of the first people to actually step foot on Antarctica, but we don't really know. And so off to the right side of your screen here, you can see this is kind of interesting. So if you think about South America, it actually comes pretty close to Antarctica. There's only about 500 miles. So this is a picture here of the south tip of South America and the north tip of Antarctica. That's only about 500 miles of ocean. So if you think about the distance from Giddings to New Orleans, Louisiana, that's about 500 miles. Okay, so not super, super far. And I can show you here on the beach ball globe again. Okay, so right here, this is the tip of South America. And then we have Antarctica right there. So not super far. So a lot of times when people would try to find Antarctica, they would go to the bottom of South America first because they knew they could at least get there. And then they would sail, but they still couldn't get that close for quite a while. Okay, so then finally, 3 different people found Antarctica in 1820, which is weird. It was all in the same year. So one was from Russia, one was from Great Britain, and one was from the United States, and it was actually seal hunters. A man named James Weddell went further south than anyone else, and he kind of started making a map of Antarctica, or of what he saw. So one of the seas in Antarctica is named after him. It's called the Weddell Sea. That's a picture of him there off to the left. So a lot of other people, explorers, and also some more hunters started going down towards Antarctica to see what they could find there. A lot of times, like the other explorers that came first, you kind of had to go around a certain time of year when they wouldn't have a lot of icebergs out. So sometimes they didn't come at the right time and they couldn't go down far enough. The United States Navy finally sent people on a mission to actually try to find the South Pole of the world because they knew that there was a North Pole. They just didn't know where the South Pole was. And French and British explorers tried to do that too, but they were not really successful for many, many years. This guy from England, he actually really tried to find the South Pole. His name was James Clark Ross. He did not find it either, but he did find a new sea in Antarctica. So if you look at the map of Antarctica, there's a sea called the Ross Sea. That is named after him. There's also an ice shelf in Antarctica named the Ross Ice Shelf. So if you look on the bottom corner there, those are not icebergs. Those are called ice shelves. So basically, it's just like a big cliff of ice. But that is a type of land form that we have in Antarctica. So he did some stuff there. Some people then kind of just gave up to try to do more with Antarctica. They were like, it's too hard to sail down there. It's too cold and icy and stuff like that. And there's no food besides like whales and seals and penguins. So, excuse me. So, whales and seals, they, are all around Antarctica. So the hunters kept coming. That picture there is like a picture of whale hunters, which is crazy. So seals actually kind of got like overhunted, and there were not a whole lot left after the 1800s. But yeah, this is just a painting. It's kind of scary looking. I don't know how you would take that whale back with you after you killed it. But I know some people who hunted whales actually died because the whales were not very friendly to them. Obviously, the whales are a lot bigger. Okay, so more people kept on exploring. Some people even stayed there for like up to 2 years while they were just traveling around Antarctica, because once they got there, they wanted to spend as much time there as they could. And yes, they would eat penguins and seals and stuff like that. Some of them would find rocks and animal samples to bring back, even though, there's not too many animals there. In 1903, the first scientific research station was actually built on Antarctica. So that was just like a place where scientists could come and live and stay and do more research while they were there. And then finally somebody found the South Pole in 1907. And you might think how did they know that it was the South Pole? Well, if you use a compass, you could find that that was the South Pole of the Earth, okay? Because if you remember how we used compasses at Camp Lone Star, they always point north. So, you could find where 0 degrees south was as well with a compass. And this guy he was from Australia, actually. His name was Edgeworth David. He led some people to find the South Pole for the very first time. That's a picture of him at the bottom of this slide. And then there's 3, this is actually probably one of the first photographs at the South Pole. This is not him, but those 3 men at the top put a flag. I believe that's Finland's flag. To show that they found the South Pole as well. Okay, so more explorers kept coming, more scientists kept coming, people even started driving cars and flying planes on Antarctica. So there was really no rules or laws about how you had to act when you were on Antarctica or what you could and couldn't do there. So some countries tried to start claiming pieces of Antarctica for their countries, kind of like colonies. So if you remember in the past, England would come to America and claim part of America for themselves. And France and Spain, they did that too. So that's what countries were doing with Antarctica. They would be like, this piece of Antarctica belongs to France, and this piece of Antarctica belongs to Sweden, and stuff like that. So finally, a lot of countries got together and they said, we have to decide how Antarctica is going to be used, because it can't just be this big free-for-all. So they have a treaty that was signed, actually. That picture at the bottom shows the flags of all the countries that signed the treaty. It was signed in the year 1959. So not super long ago. That's about 70 years ago, okay? No, sorry. 60 years ago. All right, so the treaty basically says these things and some other stuff too. But it says you cannot use Antarctica for any wars or battles. So for example, if World War III happens someday, I hope it does not. But if it does, you can't use Antarctica to fight a battle in a war, okay? Countries can do scientific research on Antarctica, so anyone can come and do that. But nobody can own Antarctica. So no country is allowed to say, this part of Antarctica belongs to the United States. You can't do that. Also, no person can become a citizen of Antarctica. So that's sort of interesting. So you cannot really permanently live on Antarctica. Scientists live there for a while sometimes, and people even take like cruises and go visit Antarctica, like, you know, for fun, but you cannot live there permanently, like for your whole life. You cannot have like an address that says you live there, okay? And another rule in the treaty basically said that the land and ice and water around Antarctica has to be kept in good condition and preserved. So you can't just like take all this ice and like just like melt it for fun or something. Okay. And so now that was all history about Antarctica, because I think that's the most interesting part when it comes to Antarctica, honestly. But here's some stuff about the geography. So 98% of Antarctica is covered in ice. So basically almost all of it is covered in ice. You barely see any land when you're there. In the ice, though, is the largest area of fresh water in the world. But we can't drink it because it's ice. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. The Transantarctic Mountains is just a mountain range that goes across Antarctica. There's 2 seas on Antarctica, which I already mentioned. There are also landforms called ice shelves, which are basically, like I said, those cliffs of ice. And then there's also something called the Antarctic Peninsula, which is that part that stretches up towards South America. Okay, and here are just some more interesting facts real quickly. So there are not a whole lot of animals and plants that can survive on Antarctica. So we have penguins, whales, and seals that live there. But guess what? No polar bears. Polar bears do not live there. Moss are the most common plant on Antarctica because obviously not that much can grow there. You probably already guessed this, but it is the coldest continent in the world. The record low temperature that it ever had was negative 168 degrees Fahrenheit. That is so cold, you guys. I can't even imagine that. But the weird part is it really doesn't get that much precipitation. So it only gets, like, on average about 4 inches of rain a year, or snow. You can count snow too. So that's really little. So some people call it a cold desert because of that. Okay, and that's all we're learning about Antarctica today. So on Google Classroom, you can watch a video which tells you the difference between Antarctica, which is the bottom of the world, and the North Pole, which is called the Arctic. And it's kind of fun, and it's a catchy song too. So thank you for learning about Antarctica. Have a good day, guys.